You see, I hope our ideal, and I think mine is, something embodied in this principle of Dad. That the ideal is, I've got a picture of, we just want to hold close to Dad and to somehow blend with him in his being, that we be transformed into part of his loveliness, but at the same time there's something in me that wants to be a separate person, that I may be a blessing to him in such way, to care and to relate and to chat, to do things with, to be with, not just lost in. So it's an intense closeness, but an intense individuality that's in lovely harmony and fellowship with him. And I conceive of this as being, dare I say, but something like him. But not quite him. Separate enough to be a simply wonderful friend. And I want this for all. I don't just want it for myself. I so want it for you too. I can't see further than this. This is as far as I can see. Thank you, Dad. May my trust be utterly in you, Father, and your wonderful ability to sort it all out for the utter best. Love you. Thank you, Dad. Well, it's Easter Sunday, and I think it is what I will label as my graduation. Could I just say graduation? Thank you, Dad.
Let me try again. You see, it's like father and son. The son has, if you like, half the genes of the father, with half the genes of mum. I don't know if that's typically the case, the way it works, whether it's 50-50 or... But they are blended together. And yet the son is an independent person. He's like his dad, he's like his mum. But he's neither. He is an individual, unique. And thinking of the blending, by the way, I this evening had some vegetables that I'd steamed. And they were a bit dull individually, on the plate. So I put them through the blender. And to do that, I had to add a bit more liquid, to make it blend together. And the result was very enjoyable, not dull and uninteresting at all. Really nice taste. So much so that I had the lot. So, we are blended with the Father, the parent. we're closer than close in that sense. We are matched, gene for gene, if you like, whatever it is, all the DNA. In physical terms, but I mean in spiritual, really. God's not physical at all. Well, as far as I know, not at all. And yet at the same time, we are an entire and unique individual. But because we've been rescued into life by this blending with our Heavenly Father, this embrace that went right through each other. Part for part, whatever you call it, I don't know. Atom for atom, or DNA, string for DNA string, however you like to think of it. But really, I mean in spiritual terms, not physical particularly anyway. So, in the sense of being born again, to use that jargon, we are this unique person. But it's a blend of the Father and our previous self, the parent and our previous self. And we then, as we mature, relate to our Heavenly Father and the host of heaven accordingly. In harmony. Or we can't be in heaven. Well, I'm supposing that's the case. Thank you, Dad. So if I attempt a summary, I'm saying that we're born of God. That's the blending. But we mature into being adult friend of God, part of the heavenly host. That's the fellowship. The fellowship that we all so appreciate. Thank you, Dad.
See, we are not striving to be equal with God. It's lovely to have someone who is wonderfully greater than ourselves that we can just trust and rely on. You see, it's not an imposition for if you take the traditional sort of view of things, the wife to submit to the husband. It's so nice, he makes the decisions, I don't have to worry about that. I can focus entirely on what I want to do, which is love my children and have a family and make a home for all of us, including hubby, in thanks to him for his taking responsibility, not stealing it. I'm delighted he's willing to do that for my sake. But from his point of view, he may think, oh goodness, I don't want her to miss out. Perhaps she needs to be in on this decision making. And we're all going to be that much the richer if she is. What do you think, love? And she says, well, I think so and so. But what do you think, husband? He says, You see, he's utterly sympathetic to her view, because he loves her. So he knows she's going to leave him with the decision. But my goodness, does he want the right decision? Because in no way does he want to ride roughshod over her. She is the one he loves. This is in the worldly situation. We've not got God quite in this picture. Now he's in a dilemma, and Nessie brings God into the picture. And of course she would be too, if she really is just focused on her family without bringing God into the picture. She'll end up making a mess of it without realizing that was the problem. So when he brings God into it, he says to himself, now what do you want, God? And of course he's very much thinking, you have the answers, you don't make mistakes like I do. And he very earnestly seeks God's answer, and it's with her too, because he knows she is a person that seeks God's answer, and in the context of their family together. Because he trusts that she loves him too. She's a wonderful person. And she too, in having God in perspective, also trusts God through him, in God's ability to steer husband, both directly and indirectly through her suggestion that her view of God, her understanding. She loves her children accordingly, each according to their need. Gives care and attention according to that which is necessary. Baby needs a lot of attention. This is hard on the older kids. Perhaps the older kids could help in this regard, and of course, if they're loving mum and dad, that's their inclination too, but they're kids. They don't get it all right, and we understand that. It's the joy of having them. They are kids. And we remember something of what it is to be a kid. We can identify with their dilemma and their faults. In some sense, that's the ideal as I see it, isn't it? What do you think? Bless you. Bless you. Thank you, Dad. Now look, in this scenario, do you see God, though, wants, like the husband, his children, us, to be more and more like him for our sakes, that we enjoy the fullness of his life, which includes the creativity in taking responsibility for, if you like, at least the universe of uncertainty and, of course, heaven. But the more he gives us such, the more we know that isolates him. Now, let me explain what I'm concerned of here, is that the more we are like him, the more we are him, the more he is alone, without difference, without variety, without the richness of variety, which, as we've said, of course, obviously has to be harmonized, or else it's a nightmare. But and that's what this universe is about for the ideal of heaven, the host of heaven, and its harmony with its variety. So we have a desire to protect him in not being too much like him. But that will leave him as a lonely person. We don't want him to be alone. We want him to have the richness of fellowship, in harmony, of course. So we're not seizing the throne. Do you see what I mean? It's not our desire. Why? Because we love him. Thank God. We love you, Dad. Thank you. We just love you, Dad. Love you. And we know in our hearts that you love us. Thank you so much for that knowing. Love you, Dad. Thank you, Dad.